start today's session on literature review. Um, I'll just have a quick question for everyone. Let me just open the meeting on the side. But people can either ask me questions during my presentation whenever you want, or you can also everyone. If tomorrow you are asked what's the latest evidence for antiplatelet therapies in stroke, how and where would you go to search for an answer for it? You can open your mic to answer. I'll wait for like 15 seconds, 10, 15 seconds, or you can type it if you don't want to talk.
Sir, you are not audible.
Yeah, am I audible now, Priyanshu?
Yes, sir, you are audible now.
Yeah. I'll just continue. If anyone wants to talk, they can just open their mic. If someone asks you tomorrow, what's the latest evidence for antiplatelet stroke, you might either go to Google, just search it on Google, or you might either go to ChatGPT or your textbooks and try to look for an answer there or something like that. If you have done some kind of literature review in the past, you might also go to any databases that are available, like PubMed or something, and you will go and look for an answer there for something like that. So all of this that you're doing, searching for an answer for a specific question, is a form of literature review. So every search strategy that you use for any kind of clinical question or a research question is what we call a review of literature. But every person will have a different strategy, right? Like someone will only use Google, someone doesn't like the use of AI, so they won't use ChatGPT. Someone doesn't know about databases, certain databases, so they won't know where to search for them there. So how do we ensure that everyone comes to a similar knowledge base or some similar knowledge level, or if someone follows your strategy, they can have the same level of knowledge that you acquire. So that is what we call a literature review. It is a planned and reproducible survey of whatever that is currently published or the current existing knowledge base. So it is a form of search strategy, which if I do it and I describe how I did it, you should also be able to replicate it completely and fully. So if I search for a certain topic and I find 190 results, you should also be able to search the same thing and find the equal number of results at the same point in time. So this a review of the current literature base that everyone can access at the same time. There will be no loss of knowledge because someone is searching in a different way or doesn't know about something. So, and it's not that we use a literature review only for research or only for clinical studies, something like that. We use literature review in everyday practice also. So if you have a patient, you don't know anything about what to do, you have a patient who's resistant to a lot of drugs or is not responding to something, you go on Google Scholar or Up to Date and you search for that specific scenario. There is also a review of literature, that is, you are conducting a literature review to provide better care to your patient. So it's not just confined to just research and your studies. So yeah, why am I reviewing this knowledge base, this literature? So before we go ahead and start looking at all the available studies, journals, etc., we have to know what we are asking and if it is the correct question that we are asking. So there are a few steps and a few things that can help you find your right question. So one of these things is called the PICO method. You might have heard this before, maybe. So we have abbreviate as PICO, PICO. It defines your population, your intervention, your comparison, and your outcome. So we'll take a small example and go through what do I mean by PICO. So there is this question that I want to answer. So I want to check if using DBS in Parkinson's disease patients has any effects on their motor symptoms. So this is something that I was discussing maybe with someone, with my attending or with my friend, and I was like, I don't know, I want to check this out and see how to do it. But like, I have to break this down first, and then I can proceed for further into doing some sort of literature review. So this is my statement. So how do I break this down into four different chunks of population intervention, medicine, and outcome? So anyone wants to try to answer the question? Any one of the parts? What is the population in this statement? So yeah, the population would be patients with Parkinson's diseases. What is the intervention that they were doing? Is there something that we are doing on the patients? So yeah, we are doing something called deep brain stimulation on the patients. We also have the outcome, which is we are trying to check if there is any motor symptom change. But what is the comparison? Like I stated this, but who am I comparing it to? Am I comparing it to baseline Parkinson's patients? But I don't really give DPS in Parkinson's patients who have just been diagnosed. It's usually a last line therapy, right? So my comparison would be the previous therapy that it would be. So any standard pharmaceutical therapy or any drugs that they are on. So the last level of drug that a Parkinson's patient may be on. So in this way, I have a four-part. I've divided my statement into four parts. Red is the population, Parkinson's disease patients. My blue is the intervention. My purple is the outcome, and then what am I comparing it against? Is the standard pharmaceutical therapy. So where do I go? I know my question and I know what to do now, but where do I take it? So there are a few databases that all of it can go through. So PubMed is one of the widely used and a free resource for searching for research articles, case studies, case reports, etc. So that is the tier one, we say, the first resource we go to, and it's also free for everyone to access. The Cochrane Library and Embase slash Scopus. So these are two paid resources, or these require subscriptions. Sometimes your institutions have access to these um, things. So you can go to your library and see if you can access them there, or they usually give them access to students using their student IDs. So you can go through there. So yeah, these are two other things. PubMed usually has the most in between PubMed, Cochrane, and Embase. PubMed usually has the most number of studies. Cochrane only has systematic reviews, which is a different type of study that you might go over during this as the sessions progress. The fourth one is Google Scholar. It is also a free resource, but it does not have any indexing or any. So it has more studies as compared to PubMed because it's easier to index them, but it's usually kept as a tier four database for us to search through. But yeah, these are the four main databases where we search, and then you can go through them and apply filters, etc. We'll go through that in a live demonstration on how to search, etc. Yeah, we're just going to go through a live demonstration where I'll show you the last research question that we had about DBS and Parkinson's patients and motor symptom changes. So we'll go through how we can do a literature search. So when you're first starting out, what I say to everyone is just to get over the inertia of the first search. So to get over the inertia of the first search, just go through it. Just type something on PubMed or Google Scholar. So just like Parkinson's disease, and GPS, and motor symptom change. A big project or something like that, we might have this inertia or something where we don't know where to start or we don't know how to start, etc. So do your simple step, do the first search, or even not even on PubMed. You can go on Google Scholar and type the same thing: Parkinson's disease, DBS, and Parkinson's disease and motor symptoms. So yeah, just go through them. And the one thing that is different from a normal search and a literature search on a normal Google search that you might do is we don't stop at the first page. You should never stop at the first page. You should always keep going and going on because you might miss studies um, that are coming out recently and may not have that many citations compared to studies on the front page that might have a lot more citations and are called popular studies. So you miss a lot of information or any contradictory studies that way. So yeah, this is the first way you start, and you can go through a few studies, um, and there are a few ways you can divert from there. There's also one more type of search, which is advanced. So PubMed has this thing called mesh search. Do you see this MESH term? So all the studies that are submitted to PubMed are indexed in their own keyword system. So writing Parkinson's disease, right? So you can write this at Parkinson's, PD, Parkinson only. There are different types of Parkinson's, secondary Parkinsonism, idiopathic Parkinsonism. So how do you collate all of those terms into one big term? So that is what we call a mesh term. So you go to PubMed mesh search, and there's this first link which takes you to a mesh page. And here you can search. So, for example, I searched Parkinson's, and it gives me this Parkinson disease as the mesh term. So you see, it's not even so. Most of us would call it as Parkinson's disease with a S, an extra S, but the mesh term is just Parkinson's disease, and this encapsulates every type of different way of spelling or writing Parkinson's disease, search for multiple things. If I was searching on my own, I would have gone Parkinson's disease. So I would have to write so many different terms just to search for Parkinson's disease. That is one thing that mesh terms take care of. And then our second mesh term would be deep brain stimulation. That is our intervention. So deep brain stimulation can also be written as DBS, intracranial stimulation, brain stimulation, etc. So this is our second mesh term. Our third mesh term was our outcome criteria, which is motors, movements, right? Motor symptom change. So how do I characterize that? Like movement, maybe, or something. Sometimes you might not have something that you are looking for as a mesh term. Like how do you characterize motor symptoms as a mesh term? Like I have motor symptoms. So, yeah, there is no mesh term for motor symptoms. There is something called motor activity or movement. So at that time, you can just use two mesh terms of Parkinson's disease and deep brain stimulation, and then go forward with that. So continuing this, we'll go to the advanced search and how we can build it. So when you have this mesh page on the right hand side, you can see this PubMed search builder. So once I'm at a mesh term and I want this mesh term in my search query, you can add this to your search builder. So it adds in the correct formatting how I would have to search PubMed for this exact mesh term. And now if I search for my second mesh term, which is deep brain stimulation, uh, it keeps the memory of the search that I have built, and it brings me to the second page of deep brain stimulation. And you see this and this drop-down menu. So these are what we call our Boolean operators. So whenever we are searching, these are available on all databases, And these are the most important things when you're doing a literature review or any search in any kind of database. You can also use them on your normal Google search or your Google Scholar search, or anything like that. So I want Parkinson's disease and people in Parkinson's disease who are receiving deep brain stimulation. So I'll use the term Boolean term and then add it to my search filter. So now PubMed will make the search include two different mesh terms and have the proper formatting for it. So now I want to search PubMed for it. So I just hit the button below it and it takes me to PubMed. But I didn't include my motor system change um, in this term. So I'll come to that. First, we can see the difference between a mesh term search and a non-mesh search. So you see that this is a mesh term search. We have around 5,200 200 something results. We'll go back to this PubMed and this tab. So we'll just type Parkinson's disease and deep brain stimulation. We'll keep the Boolean same as an and. Yeah, see. So there's a difference in the results number. So this is also particularly due to when mesh keywording was started, but it was started around 1990s and 2000s. So a lot of the older studies are excluded, but those are also referenced in most of the newer reviews and things like that. So we don't need to care about that much. So you just decreased the amount of articles that you have to go through from around 10,000 to 5,000. So you just halved it. Now we still have to include our motor symptom search. So we go to this advanced search tab in PubMed, and here you can build on your query. So I'll just copy the search that I built last time. So Parkinson's disease and deep brain stimulation. Priyanshu, can you give me a heads up when I have around 8 minutes left?
What is?
Can you give me a heads up when I'm nearing the end of my time? Yeah. So I copy and pasted my the search that I built from the mesh term, and now I just have to add my motor symptom search. Correct. So this I'll add this to my query box here. So I add it. So this is my first query term, and so I need to uh, reduce my search to uh, people with Parkinson's who are receiving deep brain stimulation and seen motor symptom change. So right. So I'll add an and term for motor symptoms. Correct. But there are a lot more synonyms that can be there for motor symptoms when you are writing a paper, right? So for example, you can write motor dystones, or you can write Parkinson's disease specific terms like bradykinesia, rigidity, tremor, those kind of things. So this is where you can modify your search here. So inside the brackets for motor symptoms and inside the and term, I'll add or and then add rigidity or tremor or motor deficit. So now I am searching for all of this with any of these terms present in them. So now, instead of just limiting myself to motor symptoms, I'm increasing the amount of hits I can get for just motor symptom changes. So there's this thing in PubMed where you can, when you have built your query, you can add it to history. And you see it adds it here in your history and shows the number of results. If there is something wrong in this query, it will show me an exclamation mark like this. So if I add this back and make a mistake here, like add two more brackets and add it to history, it immediately throws a term and it tells me that something was wrong and why it was wrong. So yeah, this is one nice thing about, and it saves all the searches that you have ever run. So if you're logged into PubMed, and this way you can keep track of what you are searching and keep coming back to the same thing. This brings us back to the definition of what is literature review. So this is something I am doing, which you all, if you just copy this term that I've made, you all can also do and replicate it on the same site. If every one of you types this, you all will also get the same number of results. No one will get 6,000 results, or someone will get only 500 results. So it's replicable, and you can also do anyone in the world can do it, and they will have the same results every time. And that is the basis of research, correct? If I do research in India, it should be the same kind of thing that should be seen in another country or another state or another city. So yeah, we see that we came down from 10,000 results to 5,000 results to now 2,000 results. And now we can go through the filters and see uh, how many years back do we want to keep the data from? What type of study we are interested in? Are we looking for case reports? Are we looking for review papers or clinical trials or something like that? Yeah, this was just a short introduction to PubMed. There's all obviously a lot more things that you can do in PubMed to improve your search. But this is one of the basic things and covers around 95% of what you will do in just a basic literature review. So these Boolean operators are also the same thing that you can use in Google Scholar Search. You don't see any advanced option, but if I just type Parkinson's disease and so and or not are your Boolean operators, and you can use them as is, and you can just put quotes around your main keywords, and that way it just restricts them to that keyword. So this search that's currently shown is without any Boolean operators. We have 26,500 results. And if you do with the Boolean operators, it goes up. And if you put deeper installation in keywords, so just searching for deeper installation, it goes down to 90,000. So it's a very good way to reduce the amount of work that you have to do and the amount of things that you have to go, articles that you have to go through. So moving on, you have tried to do your search and everything, but you will get a lot of different types of study designs, study types, articles, etc. So how do you know which one to give more weightage to, right? Like if we take an example of textbook, if some textbook says something and the other textbook says something, we always ask, is this a standard textbook or is this a non-standard textbook? Are you quoting something from standardized textbooks or just a random textbook that you found? So that's the same way we also categorize, there is a hierarchy of research articles. So the topmost and the best research articles are something that we call systematic reviews and meta-analysis. So these are a combination of around 1,000 or 100 or 15. So they combine all the existing knowledge base that is there currently at that point in time into one research article. So that's why they are regarded as the highest evidence level. And below that, as we continue downwards, we have clinical trials, cohorts, case control studies. And the lowest evidence that we get, the lowest hierarchy of evidence is case studies and case reports because they only deal with one subject at a time. So it cannot be generalized to the population. And then just people having their own theories and their opinions. So yeah, once you have gotten all your studies and everything, how do you keep track of them and how do you reference them very well when you're starting to write your protocol or starting to write your research paper, your end research paper that you might publish? So you can group your findings in a few different ways. So what I like to do is put them in a table so I can very well and very easily know which author and which paper is referencing what, and it helps me write my introductions and my protocol easily. So you can either group them chronologically as the papers came out, or you can group them by the theme of the paper. So Was it focusing on a certain area? Was it for the findings? Was it against the finding? Um, and a basic summary table, it comprises of the author name, the study design, and population, and a few key findings. And if there was any like minority findings in the studies where they say majority of times the Parkinson's patients improved, but a few of the patients had deterioration or had complications, you also write that. So I'll show you one of my summary tables that I had made for a study. So I have the citations. So these are my authors. So you write the first author and the year of publication. Then you write. Then as I was looking at brain regions. So I have another column for brain regions analyzed, number of the population. Then key findings are listed in a different column. So I can go through all of these at once, and it makes it very easy for me to write my research paper or my introduction because I can reference immediately from where I see it. Yeah, this is one example of a summary table that you guys can make. It makes it easy for you to keep track of how many papers you currently have, how to reference them easily, and makes the hassle. It reduces the hassle basically. So yeah, the one more thing in grouping your evidence is something that we call a Prisma format. Um, so you just go through this. You will usually attach this in your protocols, or you will attach this in your end paper that you're submitting for publication. So, for example, one of the studies, we were going through 3,000 articles. So you describe how many articles from each database that we had, how many duplicates we removed, how many we actually screened. And out of the 2,900 that we have, we only took 100 because they were the only ones applicable to our study. And then we used the 100 articles. So this is one way you can group your findings and present them to people when you are publishing your paper. Yeah. Just wrapping up my talk, there are a few common pitfalls that I advise people to be wary of. So, having a very broad research question makes you very susceptible to having a very large number of articles to review. For example, if your research question was, um, what are the drugs used in Parkinson's? The amount of clinical trials and the amount of um, complications, effects, sizes, and everything that is seen for the amount of drugs that we have for a disease like Parkinson or something like that, you would have around 8,000 or 9,000 articles to review. And that just is impossible for one person or even two, three people to do it and remember all of them. So having a well-framed research questions following some criteria and narrowing down what you want to do is a very good strategy. The second, as I mentioned before, this is not like your normal Google search that you would do. You can't just be limited to your first page. You'll miss a lot of things. So you start by being broad. You look at your best matches. You look at your first, second, third pages, and then as you are getting more involved, you start restricting your. So you filter. So as I showed before, you can go and filter your years. So you can go year by year and go through all the results of that year. So that way you don't miss any recent releases or recent publications or any publications that have very few citations that you might have missed that may have been important to your study thesis. And one of the last ones is just copy pasting. This is never advised from anyone. Never copy paste directly unless you're quoting something or a phrase. Never copy paste from an existing review. You might be flagged for plagiarism or something like that. So understand what your studies are, what your review is, and then write it in your own words and paraphrase it very well. There is also one more website that I want to go through with you all. It's called Future House. It's an AI platform that I had recently found. So it's similar to ChatGPT, but it only searches literature databases, and it has a few different levels of searches for answering your literature review questions. And it gives you very well cited resources, and it gives you a write up similarly. So we'll go through one of my previous searches, and you can look through it. So I was looking at how dopamine has a protective effect on serotonergic neurons when given during a lesioning study that I was doing. So I asked it, how is it doing that? And it gives me a list of references, what it used, what it didn't use. Is it peer reviewed, non peer reviewed? What kind of citations it has? What kind of H index it has? It's a very good resource that you can use in your literature review, but you can't be just reliant on this um, as with all other AI resources. You have to do your own literature review alongside it. This might catch something you might miss, you might catch something it might miss, but it makes life easier for you. And you can export all your results with all your markdowns already cited for easier compilation later on. Yeah, that ends my talk. If there are any questions, feel free to um, unmute yourselves or put it in the chat. Otherwise, I think the moderator might move on to the exercise.
Thank you so much, sir, and thank you everyone for tuning in. We hope episode 4 of 30 Results will help you crack the code on literature review. From keywords to chaos management, everything in between. A big shout out to Dr. Abdullah Siddiqui for walking us through the maze and making the process feel way less overwhelming. Quick heads up, your attendance will be marked based on the episode 4 activity form, so please make sure that you fill the form within the next hour. And before you go, can you all please turn your camera on so that we can take a group selfie? Can you all please just turn your camera on for the selfie?
The presentation has also been shared with the organizers. If anyone wants the presentation for themselves, they can mail them or text them, and it should be available for them.
Thank you, everybody. See you in episode 5. We are just getting started.